Hello and welcome. I'm Jon Garlick and I'm here with Sheriff Matthew Wade, and this is Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Morning, Sheriff.
Always good to be on the show, John, I tell you what.
Man, you know, last week was a busy week around here with everything going on around town and races, and you guys were busy too. Let's take a look at the count.
Always, never have let us down. 2 arrests brings the count up to 5,115 people arrested, all because the community was willing to help us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And the community is going to be busy next couple of weeks, right? We've got what going on?
You know, October is a very busy month just for, we've had Oktoberfest, we've had the races, it's just so many festivals and everything else. Next week is fall break for all county schools, so children will be out of school for a week, so parents will be busy. Make sure you keep up with those kiddos and the idle, what do they call that, the idle hands or the devil's workshop.
Oh, yeah, so watch out for kids on the street, watch out for teenage drivers.
Absolutely.
Right, and parents, occupy your children during this free time. And we want to occupy you on the first half of our lineup here, and then we'll be back with a really important guest here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. The first half of our lineup brought to you by Abe's Ace Bail Bonds. Their phone number 256-831-0074. First up this half, Michael Kaiser. Mr. Kaiser, last known to be living in Ohatchee. He's wanted for failure to appear on burglary third. And this is Daniel Brown. Mr. Brown, last known to be living in Birmingham. He's wanted on a failure to appear, a theft by deception third. And take a look at Misty Haywood. Miss Haywood, last known to be living in Rainbow City. She's wanted on a probation violation for fraudulent use of a debit or credit card. And this is Arnold Green. Mr. Green, last known to be living in Talladega. He's wanted for failure to appear on obstruction of justice by using a false ID. And take a look at Marco Trejo Resendez. Mr. Trejo Resendez, last known to be living in Oxford. He's wanted for failure to appear on sexual abuse first. And meet Nikki Brooks. Miss Brooks, last known to be living in Piedmont. She's wanted on a motion to revoke bond on possession of controlled substance and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. And this is William Robinson. Mr. Robinson, last known to be living in Gadsden. He's wanted for a motion to revoke his bond on robbery first ×4. And meet Kaylee Hollingsworth. Miss Hollingsworth, last known to be living in Jacksonville. She's wanted on a probation violation for chemical endangerment of a child. And that's it for the first half of the lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show. Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in that half of the lineup that you might know where they are. And if you do, call Sheriff Matthew Wade. You call, he hauls. Meanwhile, we're here with Jason Lindell of ASAP.
Yeah, how's it going?
Agencies for Substance Abuse Prevention.
Good to be back.
Well, man,
Good
do
to
we need that?
You know,
It's just a little side story. My daughter is in court reporting, and she was telling me that she was doing, in her internship, she was doing probation hearings yesterday, and she said, you know, most of those people seem like good people, but they all just had drug problems. I said, bingo. That is where our problem lies in our society. A lot of good people who have an abuse problem that causes them such derailment in their life. So if we could figure a way to fix that, man, what we could do for so many people.
and it goes beyond that. I was just reading some stuff. Most of the asylum seekers coming across the border from South America are fleeing drug-related gang violence.
I saw that.
90% of the illegal drug consumption in the world is done here in the United States.
Mm-hmm. So we're creating it.
We are creating the problem.
Yes.
So, thus we need you.
That's right. So yeah,
and ASAP to fix it. So.
And it's one of those things that you, like with National Prescription Drug Take Back Day, which is October 29th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It starts with the prescription drugs. I mean, we've seen a lot of good people probably in our life where you have a legitimate surgery, you are prescribed pain medicine, you either don't use it, you put it in your medicine cabinet, a teenager could get their hands on it, or you become hooked right off the bat.
A lot of times it's the person that's had the surgery. I got numerous stories of people. I actually know a guy that wanted to be in law enforcement his whole life, and he was overweight. And he had a surgery, he lost a bunch of weight, got in shape, became a police officer, had a wreck. Got hooked on painkillers. He's now struggles with addiction. He's in and out of jail. His whole life is in the opposite direction of what he dreamed of. And it was all because he had a wreck and got prescribed opiates, and it got away from him. And it's hard to tell people just because a doctor prescribed it that it's always good for you. People have gotten on to me before, don't take away my medicine. You know, they have addiction. Once you get addicted to it, it's the tail wagging the dog. Instead of you controlling it and the doctor controlling it, you cannot stop, and it'll make you do things you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah. That's why days like the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day are so important, that you can hopefully get rid of and properly dispose of those unused or expired medications instead of just having them lingering out where something could.
We had a child, a teenager, young person, die this week. I was told that somebody gave him a pill, he took it, and it killed him.
Yeah.
One thing that we've had going on here lately is across the country is pain medication are pills disguised as pain medication that are really fentanyl. And fentanyl will kill you, and it's just bad stuff.
Yeah, speaking of coming across the border, nowadays what we're seeing is what they call counterfeit medications, or the press pills. So now we're not worried. Well, we're even more worried. They say it's a Xanax or Percocet. Is it really that fentanyl?
Yeah,
is it really
with an
that?
exact, it's a Percocet that's this level when it's actually fentanyl, and it's killing people.
Yeah.
That happened here in Calhoun County this week. And it's just it's
So
bad
how do you
stuff.
recognize that? Or are these folks, they've run out of their legitimate prescription and they're buying it on the street?
Find it on the street.
Yeah, and a lot of my middle schoolers, high schoolers, young adults, or college, another way they can get them is social media. They can order it through their Snapchats, their Instagrams, things of that nature, and they might be told it's one thing, but when they get it, they're putting a lot of faith and trust in that individual, where it's come from. And like Sheriff said, it could have fentanyl in it, and I think it takes 3 milligrams of fentanyl to kill an average size adult.
It ain't much. It ain't much at all, and fentanyl is readily available and by the drug lords, so they can make it pill look like something. I just got a flyer yesterday about Percocets, and it's a nationwide problem. Some kids have died in California from it. We had a death this week where a young person took a pill, wasn't prescribed to them, got off the street, it killed them. That family's forever changed, and finding a way to stop it is.
Where did he get that pill?
I don't have all of those details, but it's a problem, and it's sad, and we need to try to do something that we can to educate, and if we can keep them from ever starting it, you don't have to worry about stopping it, and that's what I've always taught my children. If you don't start it, you don't have to worry about breaking any habits or stopping it. So.
And that's what ASAP does, is try to educate people so they don't make those choices. But it's a hard battle when on television. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, when I was growing up, we didn't have pill ads on TV. There was no commercials for, you need this medication, go to your doctor and ask for this prescription. And we've become the society that just says, hey, go to your doctor, tell them you want a pill.
Well, it comes back to that instant gratification. We think a pill is going to be the end-all, say-all, one-stop shop, where it's not. So, but again, we were taught at a young age, if I've got a headache, what do? I take a medicine. If I've got a backache, what do? I take a pill. So it's that Instapot mentality instead of a crock pot, where some things you don't really necessarily have to take just a pill to alleviate it.
So, okay, so tell us what ASAP, we've got Drug Take Back Day. We'll talk about that more in the second half. But before we end this half, tell us a little bit more about what ASAP is doing to help with this problem.
Oh, wow. With us, we're a prevention agency. So we're, like Sheriff said, we're education. We try to, in different facets, whether it be on a community college campus or an HBCU campus, whether it be with the military. We've got a new program that we're starting up with the meeting women in the prison system to try to educate them for re-entry. What do you do to get your life back online? But to prevention, whether it be your kids, there's two things. Sheriff mentioned one, but also tell mine, don't put anything in your body you don't know where it's been. That's as simple as we can break it down. You might think it's one thing, but in reality, it's not.
I remember ASAP years ago, like maybe 20 years ago, Sheriff, we were in a small office in West Anniston, no bigger than this, in fact, smaller than this studio. And they may have had 2 people there, and they had brochures on these little stands, and they handed out, anti-drug brochures, and now they've grown to be a statewide agency, right?
We've got 10 full-time employees. We've got 11 grants, and we cover everywhere. Some grants we go from here to north of up to Huntsville, North Alabama, so depending on what it is. But we've tried to make it a point to expand and to educate whoever will listen. I don't care if you're in a church group, a school group, parents, and especially grandparents, to know what's out there. Because sometimes with these different type drugs, whether it be a prescription or marijuana or synthetics, the more you know, the better you're off.
Elderly people have, the older you get, it seems the more your medication repertoire grows.
Yep.
And just educating these elderly people that you don't want to be the source of your grandchildren getting their drugs or them ruining their life. So knowing how to take care of that and dispose of it and keep it properly is one big part of that prevention.
So education and prevention, and we were going to have you guys watch the second half of the lineup and be right back with us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to the second half of our lineup. This half brought to you by Chris and John's Bail Bonding. Their phone number 256-343-8004. First up this half, Frank Andrews. Mr. Andrews, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on a probation violation for receiving stolen property second. And this is Clifford McDonald. Mr. McDonald, last known to be living in Jacksonville. He's wanted for failure to appear on possession of a controlled substance. And take a look at Brittany Marbury. Miss Marbury, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted on a probation violation for theft of property first. And this is Raul Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, last known to be living in Oxford. He's wanted on a probation violation for trafficking in methamphetamine. And this is Adrian Ball. Mr. Ball, last known to be living in East Aboga. He's wanted on a failure to appear for possession of a controlled substance. And that's it for the Crime Stoppers cases this week. If you have any information on these cases, please give Crime Stoppers a call. That number 1-833-251-7867. Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in that half of the lineup that you might know where they are. If you do, call Sheriff Matthew Wade. You call, he hauls. We are still with ASAP. What's your title?
Senior prevention.
Senior prevention person
Yeah.
at the Agency for Substance Abuse Prevention, Jason Lindell. And we were talking about this horrible pill problem and what ASAP is helping us do to fix that. And it's all about education and prevention. And so thinking in terms of young kids that get these pills, because you were just talking about off camera about the comparing real drugs, real pills versus prescription. And it's hard to tell the difference. Yeah, counterfeit, yeah. So how can you tell the difference?
It's I mean, a lot of times you can't. It's it's impossible to tell which it is. So it goes back to, again, if you weren't prescribed that drug, stay away from it.
You know, when people have addiction, you know, they're trying to get things that they can't get legally. And I think a lot of times people think, well, it's a pill, it's going to be safer. You know, somebody made it, there's these qualifications and, you know, it's good. Well, in today's world, the drug traffickers know that, so they're making counterfeit pills, and it's really just fentanyl, and it is killing people dead. And if you know, and I hate to say it, but if somebody has a opiate problem, them and their family needs to make sure they can keep Narcan around, because they're going to need it. And if it wasn't for that drug, we would have even more. We would have 10 or 15 people a week dying if it wasn't for having that Narcan around, and that's a street name for it. And we carry it in our cars, and deputies have saved several lives using it themselves. And it's, you know, we understand these people can't quit, and we want to get them help. And it just taking a pill, it's you know, used to. So what pill was made by a manufacturer? It's safer than heroin, but in today's world, it's just not. We don't know where it is or where it come from, and it's just really, it's deadly.
And you know, fentanyl must be easy to get in these countries that are making these things. It must be cheap, because I can't imagine why even a drug dealer would make something that
it's just a synthetic. Yeah. It's a synthetic, basically a heroin synthetic opiate, and it's easier to make than using grown things like poppies.
Right.
So this is a chemical compound made up. It's like people talk about synthetic marijuana. Well, synthetic marijuana is anything but marijuana. It's chemicals, and it's way worse than the original plant substance. So I think it's just easier to obtain, easier to make, easier to get in bulk. It's cheap. They can make it look like other things, and they can make a lot of money at people's expense of their lives.
So what does ASAP see as the the youngest age that people are starting to get addicted to stuff?
Oh gosh, well, addicted to stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, middle school. I mean, well, obviously, to right now, vaping is probably the biggest thing we see, whether it be in middle school or high school. So, I mean, if you're not careful with vape, we've got kids that are addicted to nicotine before they can drive. So that's kind of that first hook in you.
And here's the thing with vaping, it is a huge problem. And there's also vape pods that can contain THC and other chemicals, synthetic drugs, and you don't know that they're even doing it. So it looks like they're just vaping. So a mom or a dad sees a vape pen, they go, "Oh, they're vaping. It's nicotine." It might be more.
It's not. It's not if they're vaping. Now the question is, what are they vaping?
Yes.
So that goes back to parents. I mean, why are you letting your 8th grader vape to begin with?
Well, you got to be highly involved. That's the kicker. Is you got to be highly involved. Ask questions. Know the signs.
Here's a good analogy. People say criminals. Well, why don't you stop all the criminals? Well, I try. You know, the criminals. Their job is to go out and commit crime. It's my job to catch them. Catch some of them? Yeah. Do I catch them? Do I catch all of them? No. They get by. Do they outwit us sometimes? Absolutely. Same with parents. It's a parent's job to be involved in that child's life. Children are going to try to do things and hide things from their parents. It's just a natural equation. But I can tell you this, nothing beats parental involvement. Just being there, talking to them. It's not about screaming, hollering, and punishment. It's more about being in their lives, knowing what they're doing, talking to them, telling them why it's a bad idea. You know, just saying, you're vaping, you're grounded, and screaming and hollering accomplishes, in my opinion, doesn't accomplish anything. Telling them why it's bad, how it's going to hurt them, how it's not going to improve their life, and how you care about them and want them to succeed, in my opinion, in my parenting, has always worked out for me better.
Right. You're absolutely right. You're 100%. So, programs that ASAP has in school. I know you have Y Try. Tell us what Y Try does.
So Y Try is more of a selective group with it's a small group with kids who might need that tier 2, that extra attention, extra guidance, where they're kind of at that fork in the road where they can go good or bad. We also do a Mendez Too Good for Drugs, which is kind of a universal classroom setting. It's kind of, we liken it to the old DARE programs, but it's a little bit more up to date because substances change. But again, it's that education. As I tell them, my job's not to come in here, scare you, or gross you out, but that is a reality of the situation. It's to educate you so when this comes about, then you can make informed decisions.
And what is ASAP doing from the parent side? Are you guys working in the parent side?
Not as much as we'd like in the parent sector. Again, there's some other community involvement groups that have done a great job educating the parents, but we, as parents, we have to put it higher up on the list of, hey, let me be informed of what's going on instead of let's go into baseball practice or basketball practice. We need to, if we were as involved as that as we are, what's going on, that we'd been in a better situation.
Paying attention. But if parents are interested in learning what drugs their kids are exposed to, and maybe what's in their prescription cabinet, their medicine cabinet, ASAP's got information. So
Absolutely.
Why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with ASAP, and then let's remind everybody when the drug take-back day is.
Okay. I mean, we've got our website is asaprev.com, or we're right here in Oxford, right across from Freestyle Graphics. Phone number is 256-831-4436. We've got 10 people at the office. We can answer any questions. If we can answer it, we've got great community partners that we can get a lot of times the questions that you have answered to them. Prescription Drug Take Back Day is October 29th. We have 4 locations this year, or as we have in the last couple of years. We'll be in Heflin at Wright's Pharmacy. We'll be in CVS here in Oxford, Anniston, Walgreens, and Jacksonville Walgreens. So wherever you are, we've got 4 locations for you to drop them off that day. If you can't make it, a lot of these law enforcement agencies have drop boxes in their lobby. I know the Sheriff's Department has one in their lobby, OPD, APD, JPD. So there are options, not just National Prescription Drug Take Back.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, Jason, for being on the show and telling us all about ASAP and Drug Take Back Day. And thank you, folks. We need you to stay tuned because we're coming back with the Crime Stoppers portion and the crazy criminal here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to the Crime Stoppers portion of our show, where we ask your help on the following cases. First up, between August 12th and August 26th, a wood-burning stove, 4 mud tires, 2 deer cameras were all taken from this residence on Seven Springs Road in Jacksonville. And between August 23rd and August 24th, a 2016 Dutchman Coleman Aerolite 27-foot travel trailer was stolen from the parking lot of All About You Salon in Alexandria. And that's it for our Crime Stoppers cases. If you have any information on these cases, please call Crime Stoppers. That number, 1-833-251-7867.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Sheriff, it's crazy criminal time.
Tell you what, if they'll put the picture up, this is Preston Leonard. He's 25. He's from Garland County, Arkansas. And I'm not really sure why his eyes are closed. I guess if he closes his eyes, it just goes away.
Yeah, that's it. He can't see it.
But he's a parolee.
Huh?
So which parolee means he has been convicted of something, sent to prison, and the prison let him out early.
Aha.
So what he's done with his time since he's been out early is he went and stole a pontoon boat
Oh, sure.
and put it on Lake Hamilton out in Garland County, Arkansas. And you think, well, what's so crazy about that? When they caught him, he was stark naked.
Oh, well, sunbathing.
I guess he wouldn't want any tan lines. But I don't know if he was trying to duck hunt naked or what. I'm not sure, but Arkansas is big duck hunting. But he's clothed there, and he has his eyes closed. I think he's wishing it would all go away. And I think whoever found him naked probably was wishing they hadn't seen that either.
Probably not, but he didn't look like he'd get much of a sunburn. He looks pretty pale. So
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, now he's going back to prison for violating his parole and for the new theft charges of stealing the pontoon boat, which he also did about $4,000 worth of damage to. So.
Oh, nice guy. Well, all right. There you go. Good old crazy criminal. Now, Sheriff, it's not crazy, but people who are looking for work.
I tell you what, you know, the economy's tight and getting tighter, but at the Sheriff's Office, we are looking for people as deputies, corrections officers, and dispatchers. You ever wanted to be in public service? Here's your opportunity, and we just got a pay raise from our commission. Starting pay for a deputy is $18.15 an hour.
All right.
And $16 for a corrections officer and almost $15 for a dispatcher. So if you've ever thought about being in law enforcement, please, you can go on our website and fill out an application, and we'll schedule you for an interview as quickly as possible. And that website's www.calcoso.org, or you can just Google us.
calcoso.org. You know, law enforcement career is a very exciting career.
They are very interesting. You might find somebody naked on a boat.
And we'll see you guys next week here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.